Hey Shalloners, welcome back. Today I want to talk about how to get over your first love. I know. Before we get into it, just want to remind everyone that if you have a love question, the best place to submit and the place I'm going to be answering only is the Instant Go app. Look for me, my username is ShallonXO, and click the chat feature and I will reply within 24 hours. Usually actually my average time is about 4 hours, which is really good. I don't know anyone else who will answer your questions in that amount of time, like kind of at all. So hopefully you guys like it and hopefully you chat with me because I really like talking to you guys. Anyway, back to first loves. Losing your first love, breaking up with that first guy, and look, I understand that sometimes your first love isn't the person that you dated. The longest relationship that I had when I was young, I wouldn't necessarily call him my first love. My first love was like someone in high school that I was like on and off with. So toxic, so horrible. But like that truly was my first love, and it was so hard to move on from because he was my first love and my first relationship, in that it was the first time I had felt these feelings, the first time I had like had these issues and gone through just the ins and outs of a relationship in general, even though we weren't necessarily BFGF. So get it out of your mind that if you guys didn't fully date, he's not your first love. Sometimes we love people who don't even know our name, don't even know us back. I have a whole video on that, why you like a guy if you've never talked to him. 2 words, my friends, hurt locker. But I'll tag that video and check it out on your own. It's not what we're here to talk about. First love, how do you move on? Okay, this is what I want you to sit here and think about. What was the first thing you ate, like in your life? Probably breast milk, right? What was the best thing you ate in your life? Probably isn't breast milk, right? My point is, first doesn't equal best. Just because someone or something came first, it was the first time you experienced it, doesn't mean that that's the only thing you should experience in that category. What if you were still like, I don't know, should I just still be drinking breast milk? I don't know, I don't want that steak, but I do. That's crazy. That's crazy, right? The first car you drive, the first sport you ever play. Like, these aren't necessarily things that you have to do for the rest of your life. And I know what you're thinking, like, I really liked him. He was good breast milk. Okay, all right. Again, just because he was first doesn't mean he was best. When you're young, even 6 months, if someone's 6 months older, like so much can happen in a very short amount of time. You're growing and maturing and experiencing things like rapid fire. And like, it always like bothered me how condescending people are towards teenagers, because it's like, yo, they have the responsibilities of adult. They have the workload of an adult, but they can't make any decisions for themselves. They're experiencing so many adult situations and adult feelings, and they're treated like children. It just makes me crazy how people talk about teenagers. Like, go fuck yourself. You know, I'm also like emotionally like stuck in my teen years, so I get it. I'm with you guys there. So my point is, when you're growing at that rate, it's really, really hard to be bonded with someone else and grow together. Because he's gonna go one way a little bit, you're gonna go another way a little bit, and you're gonna look at each other and be like, we're growing apart. And like, yes, you might be, but you don't realize that like, you can grow back together too. The only way that happens though, is if you give each other space and not the evil eye. It's a rap lyric, it's a really good song. And this is hard. This is where the breaking up comes in. Because I know sometimes the idea of letting go of your first love, it's just like, it's overwhelming. It's like, no, you're not gonna do it. But just because you break up now doesn't mean you can never get back together. Ironically though, people I know from college who ended up marrying their college sweetheart or their high school sweetheart are miserable as fuck. They are, you know what they are? They're not like that like high key unhappy, you know, they're not like fighting. They are so bored. They're bored because neither one of them got to grow and experience life and try new things. Why? Because they had bonded, you know, they decided to stick with each other, and that was that. Oh, he doesn't like sushi? Well, no, I mean, we can never really go to sushi. Forget that trip to Japan I always wanted to take. She doesn't want to do this? Okay, well, I guess we're not ever going to do that. No, my wife doesn't like that. Like, the lanes become so narrow because you're so afraid of letting go. And I mean, realistically, it doesn't work. You can't go out there and follow your own path. You don't study abroad. You don't move to New York City for 2 years. You don't have a wild slutty phase. Nope. Just each other. That breeds a lot of resentment. you know? And I know right now when you're thinking about letting go of your first love, you're not even thinking about this, but you should be, because what's the other option? You guys stay together forever, right? Forever is a really long time. Life is so long. Life is so long. And you spend so much time with someone. And like, think about how anxious you were when you were like 11 or 12 to like get out there and like experience things. You want to travel, you want to try new stuff, go here, go there, go to parties, do stuff. If you stick with your first love, that's not going to happen. It's just not. These two things, experimentation and adventure, is diametrically opposed with your first love. Some people do find someone that they can, I don't know, do that with in the precise exact same way at the precise exact same time. That is very, very rare. And honestly, I think one of those two people are lying. You know, I think there's someone doing a lot of compromising. Yeah, of course I wanted to live in Australia because he did. Yes, that's what I want. You know, of course I wanted to go to school in South Florida, not Yale, because I wanted to be with him. This is not the time in your life you need to be compromising. You compromise when you have to, when there's like kids, when there's a mortgage, hell, even when you share a pet. When you're young and you are eating up life, this is the time you need to go do that. And this can ironically lead you back to your first love, because you got to keep things fresh. And you got to really go out there and develop your own personality if you're going to be the most dateable person you can. I have good luck with boys because I'm an interesting, diverse person. I am an interesting, diverse person because I purposefully go out and diversify myself. I speak 4 languages. I play an instrument. I can shoot a gun. I can play hockey. I can do theater. I public speak. I do this. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of different aspects of me. And I'm not trying to sound braggy, but like I do this on purpose because that means I can fit together with so many more different types of people, so many more guys. Like my playing field is so much wider because I'm a wider person. Do you know what I mean? If you stay in this narrow lane with this one person, again, life gets very, very, very narrow and you're too good for that. So if you go out there and experience a bunch of stuff and feel confident and you set goals and you're achieving them, you're gonna run back into your first love and hopefully he's out there doing the same thing and you're gonna be like, wow, the core things we loved about each other, your sense of humor, your thoughtfulness, how loving you were, the sexual chemistry, all of that's still gonna be there. But now you have all this depth to your personality that you're bringing back. And now you guys can truly find things to grow on together. You can find commonalities more than just, well, we live in the same town and like, yeah, we both like watching college basketball. You're gonna bond over things that are so much deeper and richer and more complex and more long lasting that you might actually get back together and he could end up being the one. He could be the guy you marry. He could be the baby daddy. That's what I did actually with my high school sweetheart. Like, I wouldn't call him a sweetheart, but whatever. Like we broke things off like, you know, midway through college and then got back together like a few years ago. He turned out to be a bit of a nightmare, but not a bit. He was a horrible nightmare person. But I didn't know that at first. And at first I was like, see, this is so good that we had this time apart because now like the things I loved about him are still there, but there's all this other, like he's accomplished so much and this is so interesting. And I saw him in such a different light, like a better, richer, more complex light. But when you're like facing the prospect of breaking up with someone, it feels like death, you know, like the mortality of it, the endness of it, that it's just, it's hard to face. I get it. I've been there. I might currently be there. I will continue to be there for most of my life. I'm with you. But my friend Perry, hi Perry, came up with this thing she calls the 2-track theory of obsession. And it is so genius. Like there's this guy who's been in and out of my life for like a long time, like a long, long time. And we always find our way back to each other. And I've never understood why. And I mean, and this is like a while ago, but like, she's like, it's the 2-track theory of obsession. Because I was like, it doesn't mean anything. And she's like, think about how many flings he's had. Think about how many flings you've had. Think about how many girlfriends he's had, how many boyfriends you've had, like serious relationships. And yet something kept you two coming back to each other. Something kept that link. It would be the easiest thing in the world to chalk you guys up to like someone else you dated, some other fling. There's a million of those on each of your sides. But there's something about you have to keep choosing each other. On some level, you guys both kept choosing each other. The obsession was two ways. And that's how it is with first loves. If you guys are meant to be, you will keep choosing each other. You will come back together. Maybe you won't talk for 6 months. Maybe you won't talk for a year. Maybe you won't talk for 6 years. If that connection is there, it really does not fade away that quickly. People don't move on as quickly as you think that they do, you know? And a lot of times if it looks like they're moving on quick, either, number one, they're just, it's like wallpaper. They just like plaster over the heartbreak and, you know, just, whoa, that didn't happen, bye. And that's not real moving on. That's so phony and ridiculous. And it doesn't last either. Or maybe they really did move on that quick and they just didn't love you that much. And if that's the case, I know that's so awful, but like that's their funeral. How sad for them to go through life lacking such depth, lacking those feelings. It hurts now for you in the moment to think about that, but ultimately their life is just so much sadder. Oh, it's like if you can't taste or if you can't smell, like that sucks. You can't smell the bad things, but you also can't smell the good things, you know? And if that's the kind of person they are, I pity them, and you should too. Mourn them, grieve them, but pity them. But I'm gonna go out on a limb and say your first love probably loved you back. So knowing that connection will always still be there, and you will always have that love for them and that place in your heart for them, and that isn't easily paved over. That isn't easily forgotten. And we are also caught up in like the myth of first love, you know, and boys and girls, that if you went back to him after some growing and goal setting and goal achievement on your own, and you're like, you know what, I've done been around the world and you're the one who's still on my mind, that's great. And that actually has a really good shot of working out. I've seen it a lot. Every married couple that I know who's like happily married, almost all of them went through a period where they broke up first. Now, these aren't necessarily the college people who like grabbed onto one person, never let go. People who met maybe a little later and it was like their first big relationship. They had a period like 6 months, sometimes even a year or longer, where they didn't speak, they went and did their own thing, and they chose to be with each other. And that kind of love, the love that you choose after comparison shopping, it's so much more of a compliment in a way. Like, I don't want someone to be with me because we sat next to each other in homeroom and this is just kind of how it turned out. Like, I want to know, like, no, they saw what was out there and they acknowledged my superiority. Because how could they not? But still, getting over your first love isn't easy. Don't throw away the letters. Don't like give away the gifts. Keep those things. That's part of your history. That's part of your heritage as who you are as a person. This is the house that built you. And there's always going to be value in that real estate. So don't burn it down. Honor it. You don't have to share with other people. You don't have to explain it to the next person you date. But, you know, don't board it up. Don't raise it to the ground. You never know when you might want to move back in, because life is long. You never know where it's going to lead. So keep those doors open, but go and forge some new little land of your own. Plant your flag on something that you care about, and you'll be better off in a relationship with him down the line. I hope this helps. If you click like and subscribe. And again, find me on the Instant Go app, Shallon XO, the chat feature, and I will reply to all your questions in just a few hours. We could be chatting. Let's chat.